Alright, guys, I need to vent. Among Us. The spaceman character is an old idea that's been iterated on in media since before we even had astronauts. In recent times, it seems to have become a popular choice for game devs as a character design, and I believe there's a reason. Among Us, Lethal Company, Content Warning, and even some Backrooms games are all great examples of this phenomena. Phenomena. And today I want to deep dive into this theory that I call the Among Us effect. I call it the Among Us effect because Among Us was the first time that I ever saw this character design in a super popular video game. But to truly understand Among Us, we have to understand where it comes from. And if you don't know, the game's concept closely follows the ideas of an old film from 1982 called The Thing. I mean, if we're going to get technical, the origin of the ideas comes from the book that inspired The Thing, which was released in 1938 and is called Who Goes There? But that's getting off track. Let me just give you a short description of the film. Basically, a team of researchers in Antarctica encounter a crashed alien spacecraft that contains an organism. This organism can kill other life forms and assimilate them into itself, creating a hive mind effect. The tricky part is when it does assimilate an organism, such as your friend, family, loved ones, and Arctic researchers, they still look the same. It's like a shapeshifter. In the film, the team attempts to contain the thing through a lot of methods, including but not limited to a flamethrower. And they do this so that the thing does not take over the world by assimilating everyone and everything in it. But if you want to know more about the film, I suggest you go watch it. It's a super fun ride. Now I know what you're wondering, how does this tie into Among Us? Well, in Among Us, the imposter looks just like any other crew member, and when the imposter kills someone, the animations clearly show that they are not human. This implies that there is a shape-shifting alien trying to kill everyone on the ship. Sounds a lot like The Thing. Not to mention, there can be multiple imposters, which is furthering the connection between the film and Among Us. Kinda sus? I'm 25. This concept also works perfectly with the game's mechanics, which are obviously inspired and or directly taken from old social deduction games. And the social deduction games genre has been around since before video games even existed, with examples such as Werewolf and Mafia, which, by the way, are really fun party games. So now you know where Among Us comes from, but where does the iconic crewmate character design come from? Good news, I researched it. The designer, Marcus B., has stated that he wanted the design to stay simple because it allows nearly anyone to be able to draw the character and express themselves through it. And boy did they. They certainly did, Mr. Marcus B., they certainly did. This is very fun because it makes the game super accessible, which in turn makes it super successful. Alright, even more of this funny guy and his elaborations coming up soon. But first, a word from my best sponsor, me. Have you ever wanted a spaceman suit of your own? Well, too bad. I don't know how to make them, I don't have any, and even if I did, I wouldn't know where to begin the process of distributing them. But I do know how to make content. So for an unlimited time, you can like and subscribe for free. Don't miss out on this inclusive offer that's always available. For real, do it. Please do it. Please, for real, please, for realsies, please do it. I have a cat, and if you don't do it, my cat is gonna get assimilated by the thing, and you wouldn't want any danger to fall upon my cat. Back to the video. Making a game that anyone can play, that anyone can understand the mechanics and visual style of.
A caveman could do it.
What? Not cool.
I did not.
That kind of accessibility makes for way more potential players. This isn't always a good thing. For example, if the game isn't fun. However, this game was fun and is still fun to many people. And that's because it evokes emotions and invites social engagement. The emergent gameplay, a fun little term that basically means the layer of play that comes from the rules but is not explicitly stated in the rules, is so much more complex and interesting than the game's base mechanics. Can you lie? How well do you know the people you're playing with? Are you a good detective? Do you like to piss people off and or scream at the top of your lungs? Basically, the simplicity of the game makes people who aren't competitive or serious gamers more willing to try the game. But the complexity that comes from the emergent gameplay and social engagement keeps people interested and playing longer. On top of that, COVID-19 happened in a little year called 2020. You may have heard of it. This had viewership for websites like YouTube and Twitch skyrocketing. Funny enough, Among Us was actually released in 2018 and nobody gave a shit. That is until 2020 when everyone was watching these sites and some content creators from South Korea and Brazil began to play it. Then a very popular streamer by the name of Soda Poppin' played it, and let me tell ya, it soda popped the fuck off. Then streamers everywhere began playing this game and the player base for Among Us blew up. In fact, a lot of your favorite content creators, besides me of course, saw their biggest period of growth because of this silly little fucking silly little space game. And it is my belief that the massive success of this game is a huge part of why we now see the colorful spaceman design more and more prevalent in today's games. What's that, Your Honor? Where's my evidence? Another game called Lethal Company began development by a single person who goes by the name Zeekers in the year 2022, which is an amazing fucking game that I highly recommend you play and that I have 3 separate videos on that you can watch by clicking on my channel. Anyways, so it began development in 2022, which is, as you've probably guessed, after 2020. Meaning after the success of Among Us. Now, this isn't in any way a slight to Zeekers, and I'm not saying that Zeekers directly took inspiration from Among Us. I mean, obviously there's like plenty of differences in the character design. However, it's hard to deny that there are also a lot of similarities. And it's hard to deny that the iconic crewmate from Among Us had become extremely popular and, dare I say, a household name. Which begs the question, did he willingly, or perhaps unknowingly, get inspiration from that little spaceman? My theory is that the simplicity of this type of character design allows people to easily express themselves through it. I mean, the lack of features such as facial structure, skin color, hair type, body shape, etc. The absence of those alone allow people to more easily identify with these characters. And those features are replaced with features anyone can identify with, such as the color of the spacesuit, your pet, your hat, your clothes. What I'm trying to say is, we all put ourselves in the suit, man. And if you want some more evidence that this works well, look no further than Content Warning. Content Warning was developed and released in the year 2024 and has sold over 2 million copies. The character design is even more Among Us-like, and the game is extremely successful. That's the Among Us effect, baby. These games bring people together. They encourage social interaction. They're also a good mix of old and new, and they have an interesting history of evolution that you can track, as I've tried to show in this video. Not to mention that all the games I've talked about were made by smaller studios or even solo developers. I know for a lot of people, survival horror, base building, yada yada, it's getting old. But as I said, I feel the spaceman social games have evolved beyond those genres. Among Us is a social deduction game. Lethal Company is a game where you find scrap from worlds and sell it to a monster. I don't even know what to call that. And Content Warning is Lethal Company, but instead of scrap, you're looking for footage so you can get views. And that is quite a task, let me tell you. That's... Look, indie studios have always been innovators for AAA companies to rip off and iterate on for money. But these indie games have found so much success on their own that Lethal Company at one point was surpassing the player base of COD. And I, for one, feel I've made a decent case that the character design of these games is a large part of their success. That's not to downplay the amazing game design that's gone into some of these games. I'm just saying that character design works. And who started this movement? Among Us. Anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts on the matter down below. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much for watching. Stay sick, stay freaky, and don't toast or bath. Peace.